Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of the MuscleMind podcast. My name is Matthew Foster. We got Cody Robinson. We have Linda Ratliff here. We are new to the podcast scene, so this might go incredibly terribly, or it might be the best thing you've ever heard. So we'll kind of figure it out as we go. Today we're going to kind of go over and tell you a little bit about what this podcast is going to be about, what we're going to talk about. Cody and I, and obviously Linda too, we all sit down and talk, and we will end up rattling off about all kinds of stuff. Ain't that right, Cody? Just all kinds of stuff. So we figured why not put it in a little audio form, and we can have everyone listen to it and tell us how stupid or awesome we sound. So we'll figure it out. So
want to start over now?
Huh?
I'm just kidding.
No, we're not starting. We're already in now.
We're rolling now.
We're rolling. So yeah, there'll probably be a lot of really funny outtakes in this first episode, but obviously we'll probably get better with time. And yeah, so today we're gonna do a little bit of intros into ourselves and kind of talk about different things. And yeah, so we'll start with Linda. Let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
how awesome you are.
Why? Because I'm old.
No, you're the smartest one here.
Smartest, oldest,
Yeah.
female. These guys are both,
Yeah.
cavalier. They're me. I'm a damn Yankee. Moved to Alabama after 20 years of traveling around with my husband in the Army. Originally from New York, though. I grew up playing sports and did pretty well in school, although my teachers would probably have different things to say about that.
No.
I was a little bit of a smart aleck.
No, you still are a smart aleck. No, I'm kidding.
I'm right, so I was, but I still am. But have always been into fitness and stuff like that. Ended up when my kids started school, needed to do something, because I've always kind of been a working class, and started working at a YMCA and decided I wanted to do personal training. Got into that. Years later, got into health coaching because I love the psychology of it all. I really feel like everybody will tell you it's an 80-20 rule, and it's 20% nutrition and 20% fitness and 80% nutrition. But I disagree. I think it's about 50% your mind first. We got to get your mind wrapped around it.
That's
Plot twist.
I like that.
Right?
Plot twist.
So anyways, I have two boys. One's taken after his dad. He's a helicopter pilot in the United States Army. Other one is in college. He's doing well, working. And my husband still works for the VA. And we live in Birmingham, Alabama. We have pets, friends,
Bada bing, bada boom.
family.
You always say Birmingham like that's the most country thing that you say. Birmingham, Alabama.
Well, it is
You
compared
guys
to.
do talk
I was
country
about to say,
down
don't
here,
listen to
though,
that. Wait
man.
till I get started.
There's some serious country talk going on around here. Birmingham, Alabama. I'm from Walker County.
So do I
Crazy.
sound country when I say it?
Just when you say it. Usually when you say that.
That's all
when you
good.
say the most. It's all good.
All right, Linda, thank you. We all know you're an amazing human being now. Cody, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I don't got nothing to say. No, I'm super excited about this podcast. I will say that. I mean, that's something that we've been really wanting to do for several weeks. And thanks to Matt for being the constant steroid shot we've been needing for a while.
That's right.
To really get things moving forward. Let's see. I was born in the state of Alabama. I don't really know how far back I really want to go. That's pretty far back being born. Grew up on a farm. So I am a country boy. Moved to Birmingham about 10 years ago. Looking to probably move to Nashville pretty soon as our flagship company grows. Anyway, so have a couple degrees in exercise science. Growing up, I was kind of the fat kid. I think I even started a Facebook group called Former Fat Kids of America once I got through.
You used to be a fat kid?
Still am to an extent.
Couldn't
No,
on.
definitely. I'll show you pictures about those.
All right, I'd like to see these.
That's why I can definitely empathize with a lot of
We'll put these up on
topics
our
that
YouTube
were-
channel, by the way. You guys get to see the pictures.
A lot of topics are going to be hitting home. I actually heard a guy say one time that research is me search. So usually you talk about the things that you struggle with
Yeah.
the most. But yeah, I have a couple degrees in exercise science. Just really studied, more the development of the body, the complexity of the body. That's kind of what really hooked me in was seeing just how amazing our bodies really can be. But also when you're really learning that type of stuff, you learn kind of the flaws and the things you have to work around, which is really what I think a lot of the topics we're going to talk about as we move forward with all this stuff. I have another degree in public health, specifically in health behavior. So that's really why I think, as we were talking about the concept of this MuscleMind podcast, and actually diving deeper into, not just the correlation between the mind and body and how it affects each other, but just other avenues that you can kind of pull out and just go through the body, but also to the behavior of the mind and how it affects each other. Anyway, that's not that much because I knew I'd ramble about my background.
Hey, that's fine.
I'm more excited about this stuff. I do have, certified in personal training, strength and conditioning specialist. Like I said, I had the degree in public health, certified health coach. Like
You're telling us you're a geek.
Linda is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a super nerd. Yeah.
Super nerd.
Which is why we started talking about this stuff, and I think.
Hey, that's right. So it's fascinating now.
Yeah. All right, Matt. What about yourself, Matt Foster?
I was born and raised in Tupelo, Mississippi, the home of Elvis Presley. It's about the only thing that comes from there. When I was 18 years old, I decided to join the Marine Corps. I played basketball in high school, never lifted weights, never really exercised a whole lot besides running. Joined the Marine Corps when I was 18, served 4 years active duty. I was stationed in Hawaii, went on a couple tours to Afghanistan. Whenever I came back from my second tour in 2011, actually got certified as a personal trainer. The reason why I got certified is because I had about 3 or 4 months of downtime that I couldn't really do anything, couldn't really go anywhere. So I was just kind of waiting to end my service. So I decided to use a little schooling. Got certified in personal training. Started personal training. Got out in 2012. Started personal training in 2012. I've been personal training for what would that be? 6.5 years or so. 3 different states. Built businesses. 3 different states. Been at least in my opinion somewhat successful. Let's see. I've got several certifications through ISSA. Fitness is one of the things that I became very passionate about, not only like you kind of briefly touched on, which we'll talk about, not only the physical appearance, but also what it does to your mind, which I think is very important. I know whenever I got out of the military, I did suffer, and a lot of guys do, obviously, with PTSD issues and things like that. And the one thing that was always a consistent for me was exercise and figuring out how the human body works and what works for a certain person, and so on and so forth. Now, fast forward to now, 2018, I have a personal training business called Thrive Specialized Training. I work obviously with our flagship company, Home Fit. And Cody will tell you, my niche clientele is the 20 to 35-year-old females, but hey, that's what it is. You got to find, and I'm sure there's some personal trainers that will listen to this podcast too. And I think we'll get into this podcast, to helping personal trainers, because everyone here has built a brand and multiple brands and learned what works and what doesn't work. And I think the biggest thing is finding a niche, and that's one of the things I'm passionate about is figuring out what you're good at from a business standpoint, from a personal training standpoint, obviously, and learning how to capitalize on it. But
yeah, I would say that's one thing I'm super excited about doing this podcast with. I know we still kind of got the launch episode 1, trying to get our heads wrapped around the complexity of all this stuff. But I love the fact that we come from different backgrounds, come from different locations. Our experiences, our clientele, the people that we've worked with is kind of all throughout the board. I mean, the youngest client I've ever worked with was 7. The oldest I've ever worked with was like 90.
Yeah, right.
91.
Yeah.
I think you've got the
biggest spectrum.
there.
It's a big one.
But if I
mine's
have
probably 8 to 75.
Yeah, but if I had to pick my niche, I think I have 2. It's either like elite athletes, people who are trying to get to the next level, or older adults, like geriatric, like high risk people who, frankly, if you don't know what you're doing, you could cause a lot of harm.
Right.
But it's just neat because being able to help. They're both, I don't know, like athletes. Obviously, they want to win, they succeed. But when you work with the other population that I work with, they're they're trying to add years to their life. They're trying to keep their quality of
They're
life.
trying to win and succeed too.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that's kind of mine.
But I think that's important. So I'm sorry, I think that's important too, and especially from a client standpoint, that is important. And as a business standpoint, as a personal trainer, if you try to cover all markets and be really awesome in all 10 different levels of personal training, it's more you're more likely to succeed if you find a niche or two that you can really focus on, spend a lot of your energy on, research it, have clients that are in that niche and figure out what you're best at working with, and then roll with it and try to capitalize on it the most, which I think is the really neat part about the fitness world.
Yeah. Well, no, I agree.
And mine really started out with athletes.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Florida, I was training soccer teams, and then that developed into football teams, and just speed and agility and the different. But the more I did it, the more I wanted to learn. So I was constantly in the books trying to figure out more stuff about it. But when I moved up here, still athletes are still a big part of what I do, but really it's a little bit older crowd now. So men between 30 and 50s probably, people that are trying to live their life comfortably and healthy.
Yeah, that's just, to me, again, that's why I think this is so neat, because I think we cover like the entire spectrum between the three of us. And so that's why when we started talking about, MuscleMind, we see so many different walks of life, like I said, as far as like home fit goes, majority of our clients are that middle-age range that's looking for quality of life. They're kind of that middle generation, so they have kids that are starting to get into college, or they're getting older, so they're struggling with that. As far as trying to balance that, parents are getting older. Anyway, and just a lot of things that's really getting in their way of their health and fitness. And so there's so many things. I'm sure we'll talk about a few different of our favorite things here in a second when it comes to like stress, and then how that impacts and can wreck your body, or if you de-stress, if you're in control of that, how your body can be healthier. And anyway, there's just so many avenues we intend to go with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you said, PTSD, stress.
Oh, for sure. I mean, fitness definitely helped. I know several guys that I served with that it's helped them even now. I mean, that's why I work out on a daily basis. It's not necessarily, for look-wise, obviously when I was 20, 21, that was like my focal point. But now it's just for health and keep me sane and different things like that. But
I've got a question for you.
Send it.
So, my husband's prior military. I am, but I didn't go overseas or anything. But you did. He did. He was hard charging, 22 years of active service. And then when he retired, it was like, what do I do now? It's like life slowed down to like I've said before, you go 90 to nothing. Yeah. And I'm sure you did when you were in the Marines.
I'm a lot calmer than I used to be.
So,
believe it or not.
So making that transition, I mean, how much does physical activity affect that?
A lot. So whenever we were in our second deployment, we obviously when you're in the military, you have a lot of downtime. You have a ton of downtime, especially when you do go overseas. There's only so many things you can do. There might be a squad or something going out, and another squad's back not doing anything. So physical exercise became a huge part of me during my second tour to Afghanistan. But yeah, whenever I came out and then I got out, exercise was the one. No matter, because I didn't have it planned. I mean, most people don't. When you get out of the military, whatever, you really don't have a plan, especially at 22 years old. You've basically just been told what to do for 4 years, and actually becoming an adult. But that was something that I continued to do every single day. Whenever I first got out, the first thing I did and went back and moved back home was go find a gym. That was the number one thing that I did. Because it's something that's it's a constant. It'll keep your mind off of the fact that you literally just had a complete life-changing event. And I can imagine 22 years. That's a long time.
I feel like he was at that level for so long, and then to come into just a civilian world was like.
And the thing too is you have people, you've been there for 22 years. People literally think you're like like the newer guys think you're like a god or something. Like they look up to you, they listen to everything you say. When you get out, honestly, no one cares.
Right.
No one cares. No, I mean, and especially now, a lot of jobs aren't really transferable over into the civilian life. I was a combat engineer. I dealt with explosives. You cannot just walk around out here and blowing stuff up.
No, not a good
But I learned, but there's so you kind of have to make your own way with that. But exercise is 100%. It's still, and it will always be impactful in my life.
See, for him too, it's the one thing that I think when he exercises, he gets that adrenaline rush again, and he gets.
Well, it gives you a sense of purpose as well.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
That's
he
what made
just.
me think
But
of
those are the times he feels best is when he exercises.
Right, 100%.
So interesting.
That's kind of what I was going to segue into next was the importance of exercise and kind of what your point of view is. That I know that there's people, and especially now when you Google how to exercise or what's the best exercise, there's a million and gazillion things to do, and obviously there's more than one way to skin a cat. But just to kind of get into you guys' philosophy into exercise and what you consider to be staples and certain things that are just a hard yes and certain things that are hard no's, and just your philosophy over your years of training for someone that might be listening that's never exercised before, doesn't know where to start. Where would you guys start? Where would you tell someone that you need to for sure get this down, that down? What is your philosophy on that, Cody?
You want me to start?
Yeah, man.
I think it might surprise you though, because like a lot of people say, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that." My first response when somebody asks me, "Okay, where do I begin?" or "What do I need to do?" or they say, "Do I need to start with abs and start running? Do I need to start doing this food?"
Yeah.
I always say move.
Yeah, it's a good
Like
point.
you just
do
got to
something.
start doing something.
Yeah.
I think the overwhelm. What's that one phrase as far as like paralysis by analysis paralysis
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever.
No,
I think that truly applies to people who are starting out in the world of fitness or trying to make those lifestyle changes. And it really does overwhelm. That's why truly that's why like New Year's resolutions and things like that's why they don't really.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
They don't last very long
100%.
because people just they try and make so many changes all at one time. And I think if you can find and start off with things that you enjoy, I don't know. My approach really to health and fitness is there's a lot more in depth going on. You can tell by looking at me, I'm not the fittest one sitting at this table. But I think a lot of that's probably just the way that I approach fitness. Like I do, I'm healthy. I really promote health and lifestyle management to a lot of my clients and people I'm around, and I'm always battling, with trying to lose weight and body image and that type stuff. But and we can kind of come back to that stuff later. But that's my first thing is pick something that you that's going to allow you to move, something you enjoy.
And you're talking about anything like if you like playing basketball.
Yeah,
Go do. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. I mean, that's usually my first thing, and I know Linda's going to elaborate on probably some other points, but that's my initial response to people.
No, I'd agree with you. It's the biggest thing is to find something you enjoy. What I hear though is I don't like any kind of exercise.
Yeah. Then so what would you do in that situation? Yeah.
But you haven't looked long enough. You haven't tried enough different things if that's the case.
Yeah.
Because there's always something you can do. That video recently of the 71-year-old woman.
Yeah,
it's killing it in the gym. I saw that.
65 years old. She finally figured out what she's good at. Because she kept trying, but she's good at it.
Right.
So,
the one that was lifting real heavy weight? Yeah, that was very interesting. That was very interesting.
So you can find it. You just got to keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but back to, where else do you start? You got to start with the foundation. You got to start with balance, their posture. That's usually where I start. Mm-hmm. Kind of assess their posture. Do they have some imbalances
That's
that
so
you need
true.
to take a look at? And if they do, what's causing them? Because it could be their job. It could be, just bad habits over time. Definitely with like one of my clients, he's a oral surgeon and he's in a crooked position most of the day. So we work with some of the imbalances that he has because of that. So posture and then balance, I'd say I'd start with those because a lot of people don't have that core a lot of people are really strong, but all the little muscles that surround the spine are not as strong. Their core, they can't hold a plank for more than 20 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And if that's the case, you really need to work on that core. You need that foundation.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that, you know, the more that we can kind of convey the importance of that, maybe more and more people's lives will be changed, because once you start doing those foundational movements, you start to see your progress. And that's why the New Year's resolutions I don't know why I keep coming back to that, but I think that's when we see, you know, an influx in the fitness industry of people trying to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And I say it every single time. I say about the third week of January, that's when you're going to start to see the phase outs. That's when people are so sore. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to kind of piggyback off that, because that's true. But you know, people will go into New Year's and say, "Oh, I want to run a 10K." Well, that's fantastic, but you haven't been in the gym in 2 years.
Right.
So I think, you know, starting, my number one thing is just habit-based deal.
Right.
Whether that, I mean, I was listening to another podcast last night. Oh, who was it? I don't want to leave it out, but I'll look it up later. But he was talking about, it was all about habit-based, to where, you know, he had a guy that hasn't been in the gym in a long, long time, and he was scared to go in the gym. He was, you know, obviously it's a very intimidating place. That's why you should call our guys at Home Fit. It's a very
shameless plug.
That's right, shameless plug all day. And that's why. But he had him put on his tennis shoes and step outside for a week, every day for a week, and then walk back in. And then the next week he would get into his car and drive to the gym, stay at the parking lot, but he wasn't allowed to go in. Then he would drive back home. The next week he would do all that, and he would go into the gym, but he could only stay for 5 minutes. That's your body getting into that natural habits. It's the same with your eating habits, which you haven't even discussed anything about eating, which is obviously so important, but just choosing little habits, little tiny things. If you love Cokes, chips, and cookies, well, pick one, get rid of the one, do the other two.
I always say,
don't overload yourself. And that I'm really glad you brought the New Year's deal, because that's such a, I hate that, because I think people overshoot so many goals, and I'm all about having, you know, lofty goals. That's great. When it comes to something that you're already doing, that's fantastic. But to lose 100 pounds in 1 year and run a 10K, but you haven't exercised in 3 or 4 years, that's very, you know, that's very
it's overwhelming.
lofty.
And then, I mean, we're talking about behaviors now, which is really what I think we three of us love the most, because we feel like we're good at looking at emotional intelligence. We're good at reading people, which is why I think we can really help identify the things that are going to help people to live a sustainable lifestyle. Yeah, I think if people could quit looking at, you know, January is like the marker, and actually if they give themselves, like, since we're doing stuff kind of on a quarterly basis, and actually establish quarterly goals, they give them more.
I completely agree with that.
Give them more room to work, because then you can say, okay,
break your year into 4 parts.
Right.
That's simple.
I can give my first month can be that. Okay, let me build my habits. Let me get my routine going. And then by the time you get to the end of January, I mean, less than half of the gym's going to, you know, less than half the people that were there already in January are going to be gone. So you have more room to
It's true. And,
float around the gym.
And I read somewhere that it takes, it was like 29 days to build a habit or something like that.
That's why a lot of people do 28-day challenges.
Or 21 days. It depends on the size of the challenge.
Depends on what it is. That's right.
If it's a very small challenge, it may only take you a week to develop the habits to do it.
Sure.
If it's a big thing, it could take you 2 or 3 months.
A couple of years. I mean, if it's
even a couple of years.
I mean,
but
absolutely.
But it's that whole 21 days or 29 days is kind of a myth.
Yeah. Well, I say to people too, like, pick what's going to be the easiest, or what's going to be the easiest for you to adopt first.
To begin with.
So, like,
absolutely.
for me, so this blows my mind, but I mean, you kind of tell by looking at me, but like, you know, I would rather exercise than I would change my dietary behaviors. But some people are more, they're like, okay, I'm going to do better at meal prepping, or I'm going to do better at cutting out like a soda for the week versus going to the gym. It's easier for me to do the physical before I get to the nutrition. And if you jump into the physical exercise, knowing that's the hardest thing for you to accomplish, then
that's because exercise is the easy part. 100%. I mean, to most people, I think they would agree. Exercise is the easier.
I've learned that it's not always that for some people. Some people, it's the most intimidating part.
Right.
So if they start with their food, That's just what I'm saying.
That's what I love about it, though. I mean, there's so many different people, different angles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the majority of people that I work with,
Right.
exercise is easy.
Right. That's because of all the people you've been around.
And they're younger, and they've got, they have a little more energy or whatever the case may be, but the exercise is the easy part.
The metabolism's actually respond better.
Exactly.
I would say too, when you do that at a younger age and you're active all the time, eating is not a big deal.
Right.
So you do end up eating more of the bad foods, but your body's already more of a machine because you've been exercising. Where if you haven't been exercising and your body's already soft at a young age, then it becomes a harder thing to do. The exercise becomes harder, so then you might want to focus on a diet. But.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and everyone's different too. I mean, like you mentioned a minute ago about finding something that's good for you. I love playing basketball. I hate doing cardio, so I play basketball.
Yeah.
And it's great cardio.
I ran so much when I was in the Marine Corps. I said I'll never run again, so I don't run. It's not, I don't enjoy it. If I don't enjoy it, I'm not, unless I'm doing a 5K, 10K or something like that.
Or a ruck.
Something like that. But even ruck's a walk. I can walk all day.
Oh, that's true.
But basketball is something I enjoy. So that's what the same with you. Push to do something that you actually will do because you actually enjoy to do it. And then you're more amped to pick up those things that you don't like to do, that you think you don't like to do. But you might build up a little bit of tolerance and, muscle atrophy, and you get better and better, and you want to do some of those harder things.
Yep.
I would encourage people to sit down and actually write this stuff down.
100%.
Since we're so into that right now too, as far as like planning and trying to, because when you write stuff down, your body really holds on to it so much more. But like make that list of what things do I find easier? Is it, what behaviors can I adopt? It's like a friend of mine was one of the things that he started doing. I kind of encouraged him to do because it was super busy, executive level type scenario, and it was just there's some days he run out of the house and forget his workout clothes. Well, clearly he's not going to do his workout. But if you start packing, he'd actually put that in his car. He'd pack it and put it in his car so they eliminate. It does take all these little bit steps.
But it's the little tiny things like, like we started using this planner. What's it called?
The Full Focus Planner.
You guys need to check that out. If you guys,
Michael Hyatt, yeah.
And then but it was talking about, and one of the things I was looking at, just doing like the evening routine and stuff like that. If you put on there like lay your clothes out, your workout clothes for the next day, it's easier to jump into your workout. If you work out in the mornings, a lot of people love to work out in the mornings, and I'd be interested to hear you guys take on like faster workouts. But then if you work out like in the morning and stuff, if your clothes are already laid out. Yep. You're way more obligated to yourself to just get up, put your clothes on, and go get that run in or go get that workout in. Whatever it is, it's just same with like meal prep. If you spend Sunday for an hour and a half cooking food and you spend money on it, you're probably going to eat that food,
and you're going to save time because you're not having to decide what you're going to eat.
Exactly, and you're going to save money. I mean, it's just.
I love that part.
Yeah.
Not thinking, just doing it.
Just not thinking, just do it. And I think a lot of people do overthink exercise.
They do.
And nutrition. I think they try to, and sorry to say, and whatever, I think there's fitness professionals out there that try to make it too complicated for people.
Yep.
They don't dumb it down.
Well, if you teach, and that's a huge part, especially you're this way, I know you're this way. We try to educate our people. It's like when we started this business and people were like, hey, what kind of products are you going to sell or whatever, and you talked about this too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, none, because our goal is to educate people, but help them understand that you need to learn ways to empower yourself, and it starts with the basics and the building blocks, and once you adopt those, that's how a lifestyle change. If you get dependent on, not just supplements, but which we could go all day on that stuff. You get dependent on these things.
Whole new podcast supplements.
Yeah. Well, you had a client in
Possible.
particular that he had this weight loss like shakes that was taking up. I always said this is my thing, and I don't mean to get hung up on this. We can do this later, as far as another series or whatever. But like the dependency, because it's something you grab, you go. Well, this particular this supplement line went out of business.
What's the name of it?
Do you remember?
Medifast.
You remember something called Body by Salas?
Yeah.
That pyramid crap.
Right.
And see it's just I hate it.
Can of worms. No, I know what you mean. But this is what I've told people for years, and the fact that we have an example is it went out, so we no longer had access to it. Well, it took Linda 6 months to a year
To get him to understand that he needed to eat real food and
Here's
how
the-
to eat real food.
Here's the thing with protein shakes, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now because
Hey, why don't you jump in there?
yeah, because people don't know that they literally don't know this. You don't have to have a protein shake post workout. If you're going throughout your day and you've been busy and you haven't got your protein in for the day, if say you do a macro count or something, you know you're lacking on your protein for the day, then you have a protein shake. But after you finish your workout, you don't have to have a protein shake. Your body is going to absorb it, and more than likely, you're going to shit it out. So you're wasting your money, essentially.
Because
That's
you've
it.
already had enough protein.
Because you've already had enough. You don't need the protein shake. The only reason why protein shakes are good, and they are good, there's whey protein, casein, that's a whole nother deal, but if you're lacking protein for that day, or you know you're not going to be able to get meals in, you've got something going on, then you have a protein shake. But don't feel like you have to go stop at the store after every workout or whatever, or buy these freaking 10-pound tub of protein and have it after every workout. That's my
I
take
agree
on
with
it.
you. What I was going to say was I love the fact that we're taking this to the general public, because what's happened is, I've been a part of different research studies and stuff like that, and they'll talk about how when you take your whey protein or whatever, get it in that 30-minute to 60-minute window, so it goes more absorbent. And there's some truth to
You get more out of food.
to that. But what I was gonna say is the reason that it's so kind of beaten over the head, especially by you're coming. Well, there's the money component as well. But what I was gonna say is a lot of your trainers, and of course, again, I really love jumping into this stuff, and maybe we'll make some people mad.
Who cares?
A lot of these trainers.
Start your own podcast and talk about it.
Well, seriously, a lot of these trainers come from, they come from being stick thin. They start taking, supplements or whatever, start eating, they put on some weight, then they say it's a lifestyle change. But a lot of that high level or that strong push for taking protein shakes or whatever comes from more of that bodybuilding realm anyway.
Yeah.
Which how many people listen to this is probably going for which I have a lot of friends who are bodybuilders.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying to support what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's not
For the
necessary
general public,
for you
it's not.
to do it. Yeah.
Well, it depends on it. Obviously, it depends on your goals, but
Right.
your nutritional intake also depends on your goals. You
Right.
eat for what you want to look like. You train for how your body wants to respond. So if you are looking to put on weight or something like that, then yeah, having a protein shake at night before you go to bed so your body sits on it and gains that weight, that's fine. But for the general population, if you're just someone who's trying to lose a little bit of weight and trying to get in better shape, no, you don't have to go buy these $50 protein bags or whatever. Right. And I'm a huge component of supplements. I know you guys aren't.
No. I take the stuff that I take. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying we don't push because
To
we
other
have
clients, right.
so many people that come to us that there's a lot more going on in their lives than just trying to lose 10 pounds.
Right.
If somebody comes to me and says, hey, I need to lose 10 pounds, I'm like, okay, here's another trainer. Because I got to dig in there with what's stressing you, what's really going on in your life. So anyway, I'm not sure where I was going with that. But
that gets back to, for the trainers out there that are listening to this, it gets back to finding your niche and understanding what you're good at and how you can best serve the general public. To capitalize it not only monetarily but to help out as many people as you can. But
That's the other reason we don't push them, though, is there are a lot of different good ones out there.
that's true. We don't
To say,
Yeah.
this is the best one out there. Research is, and especially just research and development, everybody keeps changing. So one that was the best last year may not be the best this
I
year.
think it's
So
right.
so that's a whole different topic, but yeah.
Right. No, this is good. This is what we wanted to do. We wanted to kind of just throw some darts out there. And
Start
like
chit-chat.
even you said, I want to know about fasting workouts. I do think we need to table that one and not go into that. No, I'm not saying.
I don't care if this thing's 3 hours, guys. You understand?
I agree with this stuff. I'm just saying I would like those types of
And it's
topics.
like, not me.
I
Not
got
me.
a client.
I got to do it.
Yeah.
I got a client.
Well, again, I think a lot of these topics is going to come down to, and this is to me. Okay, here's to me. If somebody, whoever's listening, if you're going to ask somebody like a trainer, somebody like a specific question, and if they give you an immediate answer, like an immediate, like to the point, like by the book answer, be a little bit concerned. Because
Interesting.
the reason I say that, no, I'm not saying
No,
because
no.
you even say, well, it depends. What I was going to say was, like, if you ask somebody like us, for example, or whatever, we're going to say it depends, because it does depend on
A lot
the
of
person.
factors, yeah.
A lot of the factors, what's going on, what their bodies can withstand. You know, I mean, you could even go into different like sleep cycles, or when your insulin is actually at its target, because
Circadian rhythm.
bodies,
I mean, everything goes into it.
So anyway, so that's just all I was going to say on that, as far as all these different topics that we're talking about.
And that's a really good thing I wanted to talk to as well. This is more or less speaking to the audience, I guess you could say, but it's being very careful in vetting who you listen to and who you hire as a trainer or as a health coach or as a nutritionist or something like that. I mean,
Your
there's
sources you read. Yeah.
100%. I mean, you can Google right now, what's the best diet, and you're gonna get 30 different things like keto and all this.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, keto for some people is fantastic.
Yeah, it's good.
But keto for some people is messing up your hormones and preventing you from getting pregnant. Like, you've got to do some research, you got to get your blood work done, and seek out actual professionals in what it is that you're trying to do. I mean, I think don't just walk. I was about to say gym, but don't just walk into a gym and say, I need a personal trainer, and be okay with whoever they give you. Don't do that like that, because you're literally, you could get hurt, you could get injured, you could end up going backwards, you could have a bad experience and never step foot in the gym again, because I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, that's what I love about when people come out and reach out to us, though, because we match you up with skill sets, personality, like all that stuff that can go a much longer way. But yeah, you're right. You just walk in, just into it, because
you don't know who
it
you're
needs
getting.
to be tailored to you.
Right.
It needs to be tailored to you.
No cookie cutter crap.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. Yeah, the basics of exercises are all the same. Like, the basics are the basics. They've been the basics forever. But everything
Although
else.
even basics have changed over time.
That's right. But sets, reps, rest periods, all that needs to be tailored to what you're trying to do.
Right.
And then you dive into nutrition. That's a whole different ball game.
What's on your mind?
You said something earlier that I was thinking about, and then you said something else.
Sorry, you just got to tell me to shut up.
No, you're good. No, I think we're on the right track, really, because we're rambling, which we do good, but at the same time,
And it's actually being recorded this time.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, what was your thought, Linda?
It hadn't come
You
back.
went away.
Muscle mind.
No, it was something about, you were talking nutrition. It was after the shakes. I don't know.
Okay, it'll come back to you.
It will.
So get that pen ready, because when it comes back to you. So one of the things I know we wanted to do, especially in this one, because clearly we're passionate about many areas, and we want this podcast to be something where we really do go down these rabbit holes, so that the episodes being tailored to those and whatnot. So when we were coming up with the concept of this, I mean, it was really I don't know who. I guess I'd probably give Matt, probably more your brainchild, or you really were thinking, we need to just go ahead and do this, because nobody's doing that. I mean, nobody's doing. I wouldn't say nobody around here. Anyway.
No one around here's doing it.
At least the level that we're wanting to kind of take it. I've researched other podcasts where they'll, obviously they'll talk about, there's plenty of fitness ones out there. They'll talk about what was the other one, Fitpreneur or something like that. It was it was like something like tailored for entrepreneurs and that type of stuff, and that's good. We'll even get into some of that stuff. But anyway, our world is so complex, and there's a lot of areas that people actually do not cover. I mean, the fact that you led with PTSD. I mean, the fact that I wonder how many podcasts that you actually hear, or people talking about the impact of exercise, the impact of fitness on anxiety and depression.
Yeah, well, that's a thing that I'm a huge. I think we touched on that a little bit about. Yeah. I think because you look at, I don't know how many years ago, with all of a sudden these sudden jump in anxiety and depression and mental illness in our country. It's huge right now. It's like it's the thing, and everyone knows someone in their family or friend that suffers from some type of mental illness, whether you think they're just being a weak human, which in some cases might be the case, but it's still more prevalent now than it ever has been. And I think that is directly linked to the lack of exercise and the poor nutrition in America, in our societies. Because you don't look at different countries that are a little bit healthier than we are. They're not talking about mental illness. They're not.
They may have shorter lifespans because of other illnesses, but they don't suffer from the same
That's
things.
right. They're not having miserable, quote unquote, miserable lifespans.
You're right. Well, and you're getting. I mean, you go down that slippery slope because when your anxiety levels are high and your depression levels are high, your stress levels
And you're
are
not
high.
exercising,
and of course,
you're eating like crap.
Our favorite thing really leads into, I say favorite, but like is stress. Is like people hear stress and that's just, oh man, it's just our topic. But how that affects your cortisol levels, that makes, which causes inflammation throughout your whole body,
Yeah.
and then it affects your ability to lose weight and your ability to function and sleep and water absorption and all that stuff. Anyway.
But that's something we'll do an episode to talk about that.
Right, yeah. I agree.
About directly linking and things that just our take on mental illness in correlation with exercise and nutrition, because I mean there's been so many studies and we can I'll research studies and
Right. Well, that's what we want to do. We'll make sure we pull in
get all the sources correct.
Right.
But without question, you can be going through, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I was just like tired and just felt, those couple of days you just felt tired.
Yeah, it happens to all of us. That's
and I'm
the
like,
thing, too.
man, I'm eating like crap. Well, I started eating better and I still exercised, but I started eating better and drank more water. And it was like instantly snap out of like, feel sorry for yourself mode for no reason. And I just think more people need to be brought to light to more people because
Right.
you don't know what the hell you're putting in your body.
Well,
That's a huge connection.
Right. Well, I didn't want to stop you because I felt like you were about to jump in on that. But what I was going to say was, when you can stop and think about what you have access to and use that as your tools, like case in point, like you said, it's easy to go down the, kind of that slope of, woe is me, and then you start hyper analyzing things that you're not
You're beating yourself
succeeding at
up for
doing or
nothing.
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, then you cut out.
That's
cut out
anxiety.
your Coke, and it is. But then you flip into like the healthy eating or whatever. But the fact that you knew, okay, one of my biggest reasons I'm feeling this way is because I'm just eating like crap.
And it's so true.
But then you changed it, and then that's like for me. It's like when am I the most productive as far as like our business goes? It's when I work out. It's when if I miss a day of working out, I'm not going to be productive.
Well, and
I'm
you
not
can't
gonna
be
sharp.
hangry
I
either.
cannot be hangry.
I've never seen Cody hangry, I don't
Well,
think.
please. There's only a handful
Have
of
I?
people.
Let's see.
What did Adam say the other day? I asked him. I said, I feel like the eat a Snickers. I wonder what my eat a Snickers character would be.
Betty White?
He said Betty White.
That's funny.
And my wife will attest to that. It's not pretty.
No.
Anyway.
So you're right, though, the exercise and the eating right. But we know that, and this is our world, but for so many people, it's not their world.
Yep.
They haven't made the connection yet. It
And here's the
doesn't
deal,
connect
we
until...
struggle with it. So how much are they struggling?
That's what I was just saying. I feel like we all struggle with this stuff.
And I mean, we're around health fitness 365.
Right, but you don't know what you don't know.
This
So
is
if
why
you
we're
don't
doing this
know
podcast,
it,
yeah.
you need something like this where we're talking about it so you can at least start thinking about it and start changing your mindset, because as you think, you feel, you do. So you got to start thinking about it first.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Well, that was even more of your vision on MuscleMind, kind of coming back to the concept of this podcast.
Yeah.
Making that decision, that mental decision of how it can affect everything else.
it's all related.
Yeah, but you have to take the thing. That's when we started off 2018. Our biggest like company-wide thing was awareness. And if you don't take the time to stop and like self-assess, you're not going to identify these things. You're
No.
going to keep going through the same routines like you're going.
a cycle, man.
Yeah.
It's brutal. And
And I know we've all seen it from people. Even when you go to a client's house and one day they're like, let's do this, let's rock it out. The next week they're like, oh, I really don't want to do this. Well, what do you think is the number one thing? I always think, I bet you haven't been eating right. You probably haven't been drinking water. And those are probably the only two things that they're not doing, as opposed to the week before and they were all chipper and ready to go.
I would say the
Nothing
other
else
one's
probably
rest.
changed. And rest.
Let's say sleep. That's usually
Yeah.
what you.
Sleep's a lot to do with it, but I think sleep's directly related to how much water intake you have in your nutrition as well.
That's true. Yeah,
Absolutely.
because your metabolism is
Well, you
impacted
get
by it.
these excess sugar crap, these excess, slow digesting carbohydrates slows you down, makes you lethargic, and blah blah blah.
Yep.
You can't sleep. You're not feeling good about yourself. I think it's all linked.
Really? Really?
It's all
Weird
linked.
how that happens.
It makes me think of I know we had another client of ours that was his fascinating to me. But he executive, big business owner. And again, that's why I like talking about this stuff, because we see not just your daily walk of life, scenarios, but we see these high stress, high performance type of people, and we just see so many other avenues. But anyway, there's just a lot of things going on in the business. I probably had 100 people that work under him and whatnot, so big decisions, a lot of things going on. And we had one of our trainers that I think they were making good progress, and then he was not. It was abrupt. And so, instead of, he took a week or 2 weeks, and instead of trying to keep pushing through the same workouts like a lot of trainers would, continue to do, we'll just push through this. And that's, you need to push majority of the time, but clearly this was so high anxiety that, any more stress, whether it be de-stress or eustress, negative or positive stress, could break it.
Yeah.
It just was not going to be healthy.
Right.
So they spent 2 weeks just on de-stressing. They were going through not just motivational. I'm trying to think of some of the breathing techniques, the actual relaxation, and it was evident that guy started the client of ours. He even said it. He was like, I needed that more than anything, and then his weight started to come back down before they even started back training again.
I was listening to a podcast and it was talking about that. It was a guy that just sold the UFC. What's his name?
I know you're talking about.
What's his name? Oh my God, it's gonna drive me nuts. Please look it up. But he was talking about he was working out all the time. He had a trainer.
Yeah.
And that he was Don something. He's a big time. He works out with Triple H and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
They were talking about how that's what they did. He was such high stress that basically for the next 2 or 3 weeks they would do de-stressing workouts.
Yeah.
Where they wasn't over exuding the body and figuring out what's going on mentally. Because if you're not mentally in it, man, you're
you're not going to make the gains that you're looking for.
Boy, you can
Linda said making gains. Oh snap!
Because gains does not always have to be stinking muscle.
Linda's making gains.
Oh, making gains in your progress. I'm not saying making gains.
No, I was throwing that out there because
social stigma.
I like it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Your gains can be any kind of progress that you're looking for. Thinking about when I first go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay, are you sure?
For now.
Okay.
I'll make a note.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
I'll give you 45 seconds.
Because I will forget.
Hey, you got to jump in here.
Yeah, be careful because I'm about to forget. Anyway, when I first moved to Birmingham, I initially started working, we call it the Sports Performance Testing Institute. And so what we were doing is, it was just different types of tests. VO2 max tests, check your blood oxygen level components, your blood lactate levels, see your thresholds and stuff like that. Anyway, the most fascinating thing I think was that one of the other co-founders was he's an endocrinologist, but he was a sports psychologist as well and sports endocrinologist. And so that was really the first time for me when I got exposed to how if you actually overtrain the body, how it starts to really break down. It can affect you, overtraining, overdoing it can affect you mentally. It can affect your immune system. So he would actually, these long distance runners, he would stay in communication with them whenever they traveled and they were training, getting close to competition. Well, they would start getting sick. By overtraining, they would start developing different colds, that type of stuff. So he would have to really kind of work with them on specifically cutting back or whatever. But then anyway, there's just other ways that going into it, but just always pushing through is not the best. That's why you have to take a second and really assess yourself.
That's right.
I agree. Don't remember already. I didn't even write it down fast enough.
Well, and what I was going to say too on that respect, and this kind of comes back to, for some reason, yet again, the New Year's resolution type of thing. I had another friend of mine who, she was an elite athlete, played volleyball, and just was used to training at a certain level. Well, she graduated, and then she got kind of into general fitness. So she flipped into that, that kind of that drive. She became a personal trainer a little bit later. But anyway, so she got to where she was running multiple miles a day, and she kind of pulled me to the side one day and she said, "I don't understand." She said, "I'm working out 7 days a week, and Yeah, she said we're working out 7 days a week, and she said my weight is going back up. She said I've just gained 4 pounds. I lost all this weight, and now I'm starting to go the opposite direction. I said, do this. I said, it was like Saturday or coming up. I said, don't run tomorrow. I said, text me when you're about to go run, so I'd talk you out of going to run.
Sure.
Because I said you are fully overtraining. Your body is not. You're not recovering, which is huge. And then her weight started to go back down. She started to feel better. That she's getting out of her head. Anyway, this just amazes me, the complexity of that.
And that also translates into your nutrition as well. If you're eating clean, and you kind of stall out and you plateau, go have you a big old cheat meal. You'll wake up, you'll probably be down a couple pounds. It's usually sometimes too much of a good thing can also be a bad thing too. I mean, if you gotta allow yourself to rest and listen to your body more than anything.
Well, that's when your body does its repair work.
Right.
Is during the rest. If you don't ever rest, your body doesn't repair. It just keeps getting broken down, and then it starts fighting you. So it's important. Rest.
Well, that really is a whole other topic because of it's just the way your body responds to it. And the way even your mind. I mean, like you talk about creativity and clarity and that type of stuff. Which that's what we've been working on for the past couple of weeks, specifically in that. I had one of my mentors, who's a strength coach at Alabama now, Lou Denis. I'll give a shout out to him. He probably won't listen to this thing though.
Yeah, he might.
But you never know. Coach Lou, but he always had really cool analogies, which some people would probably classify them as more of like Yogi Berra analogies.
Yeah.
Like you say something, you're like, did he really? I don't understand the point. But no, he equated recovery, especially for an athlete, but for anybody, as to trying to hammer a nail into a board.
Yeah.
And he said, if you're trying to drive that nail, do you just take the head of the hammer and just press it into the nail, expecting it to drive into the? No, it's not going to go anywhere just because you're holding it against it. He said, but recovery, if you pull it's like pulling the hammer back. It's like you recover, and then when you come back through and you come back to it,
smack it.
You're hammering the nail through, so it allows you to make progress.
That's a really good.
I thought that was.
I like that.
I still use that one.
Damn.
A lot of the other
quote
ones,
of the day.
Yeah.
That's pretty good though. I mean, that applies to all kinds
Quote
of
of the day for me was from my client this morning, and she said planks are for the fall. She was like, it's too hot.
Planks are for the. That's funny.
One of mine today was. I wasn't meant to walk on my hands as I'm making them do walkouts.
I
was not meant to walk on my hands. Well, today you are.
Today you're doing it.
That's right. I was going to say too, I got into personal training. It was because I've been an athlete most of my life. I loved it. Loved it when I was in the Army. Like I took over and built programs for my unit and everything, and I loved it. But as I've gotten older, the health coaching, where you can take the same principles from personal training and apply them to every aspect of somebody's life to help coach them into better health overall, has been exciting. Love it. So anyway, I'm gonna have to go in a minute.
That's fine. No, we'll close it here. I think here in a second.
I think we're at about 53 minutes. It's pretty good for just a intro episode.
Well, it was good for us. We finally kind of settled into it.
Yeah. I think these things could end up, being a couple hours, but so we discussed all kind of stuff, man. What our philosophies are. Kind of talked about each one of our personal backgrounds, and we got into a little bit of philosophies of exercise and nutrition for us. I definitely think there's many podcast series down the line of these different avenues and things like that. If there's anything else you guys want to add,
well, that's what I was going to say. That's one of the things we want to do with this first podcast is kind of crack it all open so you can really see what areas we plan to go, but we want people's feedback. Like we actually want people to comment, share. Really let us know what you want us to dive into, because like for me, like body image dissatisfaction is probably something that I've done a lot of research on. Been around.
You actually had a client that had what was it called?
Body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia.
Which I've read about it, I've studied about it, but that's a whole different to know that
it's very
you're
interesting.
making amazing, like you look phenomenal, but in your head you don't look anything like that.
And that also gets into like the effects of social media.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I was like, I knew if I bring it up.
Yeah, it's a huge segue. So
Yeah.
we'll
Anyway.
touch on that. Linda, any last comments?
No, I think.
Who are you going to train?
Jennifer and Leeds.
Jennifer and Leeds. Very nice.
Yeah.
Anything to add? You saved rounds for anyone?
No, I didn't save much for today. So.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for listening to the very first episode of the MuscleMind podcast. We're right at just under an hour. We kind of talked about all kinds of things, but again, we're proudly brought to you by and proudly sponsored by Home Fit.
I like how you say it. Home Fit.
Home Fit Fitness Consulting. You guys can check us out online at homefitconsulting.com if you guys have any questions. And please send in your questions, comments, bitches, moans, complaints, concerns about the podcast, anything you think we can do better, worse.
I don't want complaints. I
want complaints.
I'm sure we'll hear complaints.
If I sound like an idiot, tell me, okay? All right?
I'm sure we'll get some complaints, but we want questions too. We want intelligent questions, please.
Yeah, don't ask like why the sky's blue and shit, okay? We don't care about any of that. We want intelligent, good questions, good topics. I mean, you've got, at least two pretty damn smart people. I'm just here running the computer.
Whatever.
But two really smart people here.
Hey, I had a mentor tell me one time, he
To
said,
discuss.
there's no dumb questions, just dumb people.
That asked them.
I've heard
That
that
what?
before.
There's no dumb questions, but dumb people that ask them.
Oh, that's dumb.
Yeah, I've always heard that and ask them in there. I mean, hey, I don't think, ask whatever you want, except not the sky's blue. Somebody would probably ask that now.
I could answer that question. But anyway, go ahead.
That's right. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in to the very first episode. We're going to try and do these, once a week?
Once a week.
Get them all together and make them all sexy for you guys and push them out. So again, thanks for listening. Have a good weekend. Thanks.
Boom.